Oh, why does it have to be so fucking cold up here? Ugh, that's just awful. Making the sun work so hard all winter long. Just... I know. Nature has to rest just like everyone else, but I mean, really, does it have to be this blasted cold? Okay, alright, fine. It's a bit better. I don't think I'll be able to do anything more out here today. Not with the storm coming. Oh well, guess we'll just try again tomorrow, won't we? Hello. What are you doing out here? You know, I wasn't really expecting to see any travellers on the road today. You do realise that there's an awful winter storm coming, right? Can't you just feel it in the air? Oh, well, I suppose maybe you can't feel it in the air. We can certainly feel it in the air when something big is coming. And this storm is going to be quite awful, really. So, what exactly is a fragile little human like you doing out on the road today? Travelling. Yes, I can see that you're travelling. You're going from that way to this way, wherever that is. But why? And where are you going? Whisperwind. Oh, that's not too much farther than here. I suppose you might get to reach your destination before this awful winter storm gets too bad. Why are you choosing to travel today, though? It's awful up here. Oh, you're just trying to get home. Whisperwind is your home, Oh, well, I suppose that makes sense. I wouldn't want to be too far from home on a day like today either. No, it's so awful out here. Just the whole bloody winter season. It's just unbearable, really, especially for someone like me. Oh well, we do what we must, I suppose. There. Who am I? Oh, how silly of me. I didn't introduce myself, did I? I am a fire fairy. My name is Umba, if you must know. Yes, you see, it's quite difficult this time of year when you're a fairy who loves the sun and the warmth of summer and the joy of a gentle breeze and all of those sorts of things, to have to make do with so little sun and warmth as this awful season of winter. I mean, I know the nature goddess knows what she's doing, and all of nature has to take a rest just like the rest of us. And so winter is a time where things die or become dormant and the whole world just sort of sleeps for a bit until it wakes up in springtime. I understand this. But does it really have to be this cold outside? It's just unthinkable, really. Oh well. At least when you're a fire fairy, you have a bit of an advantage, I suppose. Huh? What am I doing out here? Well, don't you know what fire fairies do? Well, I suppose we have quite a few very important jobs that we do in nature and in the hovel and in, places like that. But in the winter, we become absolutely crucial to the survival of, well, everyone, really. You're welcome. You see, when the world turns so cold and so dreary and dark and wet and just sort of, well, dead, for lack of a better term, you see, the sun has a very hard time shining. And sometimes the sun, it gets a bit shy, So we fire fairies, we come out into nature here. And we give it a bit of a helping hand, especially in regions like this where it gets so cold and so snowy. It's quite a challenge, really, for that poor son of ours. She works very hard, and there's hardly ever thanks. It's quite sad, really, but that's all right. She does what she has to do. We do what we have to do to encourage her, I suppose. How? Well, I'm glad you asked. We have a few different ways, I suppose, of encouraging the sun to keep shining. But mostly we use our magic, our fire fairy magic, to remind the sun, and the rest of nature too, I suppose, that warmer times are ahead. Remind them of that kiss of summer, of the awakening of spring, even the, sort of relaxing coziness of autumn. All of those times are much more pleasant, if you ask me. But anyway, so we use our fire magic to help the sun along a bit. Just, give her some encouragement to keep shining. It's quite difficult getting through all of these very dark and dense clouds. Yes, it's quite dismal some days. The days when you don't even see the sun in the winter. Yeah, I know. Tragic, really. A day without the sun. Can you imagine? I mean, she's still up there, of course. We couldn't survive without her. And she really is crucial to the survival of every living thing in the whole world. We all rely on her warmth and her light to grow the plants, to nourish us. Even on cold days like today, when there's not all that much sunshine to be around, there is still sunshine. We could not go a single day without her. And yet, have you ever thanked her? I thought not. I know. So sad, really. But I think with this storm blowing in, there's not much else that I can do for her today, unfortunately. I'll have to stop by tomorrow and make sure that she's still shining. How do I do that? Well, would you like a bit of a demonstration? Excellent. I so very much enjoy getting to use my magic. Some other fairies, they're a bit more timid, I suppose. The fire fairies, we are quite extraordinary, if I do say so myself. You owe us quite a lot. The whole world owes us quite a lot. And it's quite fun to get to show it off a bit now and then. Also, I suppose you do look quite cold, don't you? Yeah, I mean, you've got a nice cloak there. Looks like it's, relatively keeping you warm, but with the winds as they are going to promise to be pretty soon, it's probably not going to be enough to keep you fully warm. All right, fine. Let me give you a bit of a demonstration, okay? Now, obviously, this is just a very small bit of fire here. It's not going to do much to, keep the whole world warm, but it is still quite warm, isn't it? Yeah. But something like that, it's obviously it's quite nice. But that's not really enough for our beautiful sun to see from all the way up there. It might help to keep you warm a bit, but unfortunately you humans, you can't carry fire in your hands. Quite a design flaw if you ask me, but that's fine, I'm sure you're great at other things, aren't you? Yeah, anyway, but we do have a few other things. A few other ways that we can share our warmth with other people. And this one lasts for quite a long time. This is a very special concoction. I won't go into the details of how we make it because, one, I'm not really supposed to talk about it, but two, you wouldn't really understand anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But this is a bottled summer's day. Inside of here contains the essence of summer. The warmth, the breeze, the birds chirping, the little insect noises you can hear, the grass swaying in the breeze, the sunlight just sort of speckling down through the leaves as it coats the whole canopy in a little speckled painting. Absolutely lovely. Now this is a very important tool to our trade when it comes to helping keep people warm, keep them remembering the goodness that is to come. Would you like me to demonstrate how it works? Okay. I don't know that I should use it for very long on you. I mean, this is more for, the sun and the forest. People like that, who are quite important to the existence of everything. You're just a human. But that's all right. We can give a little demonstration, I suppose. Okay, now you just hold nice and still there, okay? Do you hear that? Do you hear those warm, inviting sounds of summer? I've heard that it sounds slightly different to every person who hears it. Sometimes it can change too. You may start out with a warm day in a meadow, or it might change to a day by the seaside, enjoying the crashing waves, the call of seabirds, the warmth of the sand between your toes. It's not just the sound. Can you feel it? The warmth sort of permeating through you. Here, take a whiff of it too. Yes, a good smell. Doesn't it just smell like summer? I've heard it smells different to every person too. For me, it smells like a mix of summer flowers blooming and freshly growing grass. What does it smell like for you? Interesting. Don't think I've ever heard that one before. Makes sense though. So this little bottle, as I'm walking through the forest here, I'll just sort of sprinkle a little bit of it around. Just a little bit. Just a little bit as I'm walking around. And it just helps give the plants and the animals that are not hibernating and just sort of all of nature a bit of a reminder. A bit of hope, I suppose. Not hope like, oh, I hope it stops snowing soon, but the hope that comes with believing a promise. A promise that winter does not last forever. It lasts for a while. And yes, I suppose that it's necessary in some ways, but spring will come again. The warmth will return, and the beauty of summer is never very far away. Anyway, that's enough of that. I can't be wasting that on you. You do look quite cold, don't you? All right, fine. Hold out your hand. Hold out your hand. No, it won't burn. This is not actually fire. No, it's fire fairies who know how to create this bottled summer, but it's not actually hot. It'll just feel, it might feel a bit warm in your hands, but it's not going to burn you, I promise. Here, hold out your hand. There. That's enough. Not anymore. Don't be greedy. But hopefully, if you hold that in your hands as you're walking around, it should help to keep you warm for a bit. Yes. I mean, obviously you've got your cloak too, but that summer's day will help to warm more than just the outside, but warm you on the inside too. It's quite special, if I do say so myself. And that is just one of the ways that we help out the world around here. You see, all fairies have different types of magic, different things that they can do. But all fairies create a very special and unique type of dust. Fairy dust. It's one of the rarest, most special and most beautiful things to ever grace this world, if I do say so myself. Now, every type of fairy dust is very different. You have the dewdrop fairies, their powder is sort of bluish, I suppose. I guess it's pretty if you like that sort of thing. Flora fairy dust is a bit more granular. It almost looks like green sand. It's not. It's dust. It's still got some sparkliness to it, I suppose. And zephyr fairies, their dust is sort of this light powdery pink, like what you might, picture from a sunset where there are clouds, and the bottoms of the clouds are just sort of touched with the pinks of a late sunset. If you could just reach up and grab one of those clouds, that's what you would expect to find. I would expect. But fire fairy dust is incredibly unique. Vibrant, sparkling, perfectly radiant, don't you think? Nothing quite like it in this whole world. And fire fairy dust is useful for quite a few things. Not just for looking pretty. Although honestly, I think it's pretty enough that you could say that looking pretty was enough. But it also can help just sort of spread some warmth. Now, you can also use it to start fires if that's your intention, but you need quite a bit of it because, we don't want it to always start fires. Fire it's so alive. You have the other sort of elements of nature, and they're all well and good, but fire is the only one that really takes on a mind of its own. I mean, of course, I know that water can move and flow in streams in the ocean and things like that, but it's still being worked on by other forces, flowing downhill or the push and pull of the tide, things like that. Fire is completely uncontainable. You start a fire, and if you're not careful, it could completely consume you. But it's not all just this awful destruction that some people think. Fire is essential for life. It keeps us warm. It gives us light. It gives us nourishment. It helps us grow, cook, all sorts of useful things. Fire, it can be dangerous. It can be death. But it is also life. Especially the fire that we receive from our beautiful sun, whom you have never thanked before in your life. Rude. Anyway, so on particularly cold days, particularly dreary days, when it feels like winter may just never end, instead of using the bottled sunshine, we use this, our fire fairy dust. We spread this around for a bit of warmth. One time there was a fire fairy who was so sick of winter that she actually took a giant bottle of this and she spread it all over this little meadow, this little clearing in the forest. And it all started to grow. All of the grass and the flowers started to come back. It was like having a little patch of summer right in the middle of winter. It was lovely. I mean, of course, she got in trouble for it. That's not what we're supposed to use it for. There are rules, It was quite a lot that she used. But it was lovely. We very much enjoyed it until the effects wore off. You are looking quite cold, aren't you? And it's only going to get colder, I'm afraid, as you travel to Whisperwind. It gets quite cold in Whisperwind this time of year, doesn't it? Well, if you live there, you should know. All right. Tell you what I'll do. I'm going to take a little bit of this fire dust. Just a bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Like I said, we're not supposed to use it, just for whatever we want. But I think in this instance, helping out a fellow creature, the Fairy Queen would approve. If it's just a little bit. Just a little bit. Can't be very much, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. It should be okay. Why don't I just sort of take just a little bit of this dust and I will sprinkle it on top of your cloak, just on the outside of it. Just sort of sprinkle it around here on your shoulders and down the sides, and that will help sort of create some warmth. It will help combat the cold of this awful blustery air a bit more. You know, the Zephyr fairies love storms like this. They love any storms, doesn't matter the season. Luckily for some of us, we're impertinent to the cold. Well, if you're a Zephyr fairy, you are. Fire fairies, we have other ways to deal with it, but some fairies get all like, oh well, whatever. Anyway, but if I just sort of sprinkle just a little bit of this, just a little bit of this on your cloak, I think that should help keep you quite warm until you reach your destination. What do you say? Okay. Now hold nice and still. It does work the best. There we are. If you are picturing things that make you warm, whether that's the sun, whether that's a nice roaring fire in the hearth, or whether it's a place or a person that makes you feel all warm inside. Whatever it is that gives you warmth, that gives you comfort, if you sort of focus on that, then this will be able to really do its job, to just keep you nice and cozy warm, okay? Okay. So you just think about that. And I'll just sprinkle a little bit. Just a little bit around there. And a little bit over here. There we go. Not too much. Not supposed to be wasting it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with just a little bit. Giving you just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, there we are. It doesn't take much, but that should certainly help to keep you feeling just a little bit warmer as you continue your travels. How do you feel? Excellent. Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear it. You know, some fairies very much don't like humans like you. And honestly, for good reason. You know, fairies used to be hunted awfully in this kingdom. Now it's illegal to hunt fairies, but unfortunately that doesn't stop everyone. It is still, well, there are still those fairies who are quite fearful of humans. And honestly, I can't really blame them. Especially when they're not fire fairies. I have quite a bit of magic that if you had decided to attack me, I could have taken care of you. But there are those, especially, you know, maybe the dewdrop fairies and the moonflower fairies who like to keep to themselves, like a nice quiet life. They don't necessarily like to run into humans. I don't mind it too much. Here, why don't I just sort of rub that in a little bit for you, okay? There. That will really get it working. Do you feel that warmth? Good, good, good. Over to this side. There we are. Excellent. Well, I do wish you luck on your travels back to Whisperwind. The humans of Whisperwind do tend to be far more sympathetic, far more understanding of the importance of nature around us, as opposed to some of the humans in the bigger cities who don't seem to give nature a second thought, even though nature is what made them, what sustains them, but oh well. But you seem like you're much more of a friend to nature. Good. That's excellent to hear. Well, I wish you the best. I hope that you can get home before this awful storm gets too bad, at least. I think you should be able to, especially now that you're nice and warm. You can keep a good, solid pace getting home. Well, I should be going home too. They'll be wondering where I am if I'm out too long. I don't want to have other fairies coming and looking for me. That just gets to be so much drama. It's not worth it, trust me. Especially in a hovel where everyone is so cooped up in the winter. It can get a bit fiery. Anyway, I should get home. You should get home. And hopefully you'll be able to enjoy some nice, warm coziness of home in this dreary winter storm. You know, I guess winter isn't all bad, especially because it means that you get to be cozy at home with the fire and the lovely warm food and the warm drinks and the people around you and the coziness of it all, as long as you're home. Well, you get home then. Hopefully the storm won't get too bad before you do. And then you'll be safe.